I do remember that we were talking about frequency and shaft flex before the show and measuring people's clubs and their profile of the shaft and all the things that go, the variables that go into a fitting. But when somebody would come in and their shafts were grossly off, I'm talking 30 cycles, 25, 30 plus cycles. And then you would get them into a shaft that fit them all the way around. Or what we would do, we would give them three. We would give them the one on their number. Let's say their six iron was 285 CPM, get them their length, their profile, everything. And then we'd have one that was a half a flex stiffer and one is half a flex softer. And then we would do another hitting session. And then we would say, okay, which one feels better? And we would have their chart there that had the recommended one. And most often it would be to the one that the owner's computer system had recommended. But when somebody's clubs were grossly off, 25, 30 cycles, profiles way off, they would say that none of these really feel that good. They feel better, but they don't feel that good. So where I'm going with that, the question is, how do you balance the data that you have with all the ways that you're able to gather it today and your experience, and then the feel that the player is having and the feedback that they're giving you? How do you balance what you know they need to be in, even though where they're coming from is so off base that it's not going to feel probably the best at that present time, but it's going to work towards that way?
Well, having the right options at your disposal is really the key to that. Making sure that you've got a demo matrix that is broad, that you can achieve what you want to achieve, but you can give what they want to receive. I would always talk about shaft that at the time, probably around that kind of 2010 time, the graphite era.
Mm-hmm.
You remember sort of, even the Harrison titanium era, those types of shafts were getting really low in torque at that time, 2.8, 2.5. Remember the Fujikura speed of the 757 was again, really low in torque, sub 3 degrees of torque. It's starting to get that correlation between a golfer saying, knowing what they need. They need stability, and they may need something that kind of minimizes flexion of the dynamic loft. I remember sort of going, I don't really have this. This player said they don't like the feel of this. It's too stiff. It's too boardy. And then I would understand that at that time, other shafts would come along, Mitsubishi Kurakage XT, and it came along. It was a little bit higher in torque. It was 3.4, 3.5 degrees of torque, but I knew how stiff it would play. Rory was playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Day was playing at the time. And I would give that shaft to people and go, that's the feel. I want to feel something that I can actually feel the shaft a little bit. This thing was CPM high, but from a feel perspective, was exceptionally responsive to the golfer. So I was able to kind of get what I wanted out of it and give them what they wanted out of it. And that was just having the right tools at my disposal. I'll never forget working with some Scandinavians in the UK. They typically, and you see it with Stenson, you see it with Peter Hansen, all those boys, they didn't like to feel the shaft for some reason. So they would go into the 2 point something degrees
Mm-hmm.
of torque and tip it a little bit just to kind of minimize any of the flex. You see somebody who's maybe a bit more of the old school, who's came from an era where the shaft was the timing device, and you'd have to give them something that paired up with that timing. Yeah, it was creating, and I still do it to this day with our group that I work with in Hong Kong. We talk about the balance of our demo matrix. We have criteria of weight, flex, EI profile, torque. We go through all of the list of important things in shaft. We create a matrix, and we make sure we've got shafts in every single box within our matrix, so that I know that if I need a player that comes in and needs a certain EI profile, but they tell me that they don't like the feel of a stiff shaft, I can move them more in another direction. We've obviously learned as well that if I change the head profile, if I move the CG location deeper, I can make that shaft deflect more as we try and get the head and shaft CG in alignment. So I can change the effect of that shaft in motion by changing the CG location on the head. So there's all those sorts of little tricks that you've got up your sleeve once you get deep into the golf space. And it's just, you just learn ways in which you can manipulate things.